Hi everyone, today we're going to be making the Chloe blouse. This pattern is so fun to make. It's meant to be made out of scrap pieces of fabric or maybe old clothes. But you could also use whichever fabrics you'd like and make the cutest combination. Before we get started with the tutorial, I just wanted to let you guys know that we're now taking custom orders. So if you're interested, just check out the link in our description. And you can also find the link for this pattern in the description. Now let's start sewing. The first thing you're going to do is print out your pattern. I decided to print mine in A0 size, which are these 6 pages. But you could also print it in A4 or US letter, which have different formats and different amount of pages. I'm going to be making size 36, so I'm going to cut around the margins of the size 36 on every pattern piece. Once you've cut all pattern pieces, I recommend separating them depending on the fabric. We're using 14 different types of fabric on this tutorial, so for you not to get messed up with everything, I suggest being very organized. I went with this color combo, so it's mostly blues and pastel colors and white, but you can play around with your colors and make a unique combination. To cut the pattern, you can follow the layout we give on our pattern instructions, or you can do your own layout depending on the size of the scraps you have. These are some of the layouts I made with the fabrics I had in hand. It's really important that you keep in mind that this pattern is made to be cut on the wrong side of the fabric. So make sure you're cutting all of the pattern pieces on the wrong side of the fabric, not the right side. After you're done cutting, we're going to transfer all of the notches and buttonholes into our fabric. For example, I have a buttonhole here and I cut it around in my size so I could mark it on the fabric. And you're also going to cut small notches wherever they're needed. When you're done cutting and transferring everything, you'll be left with a bunch of pattern pieces. Grab your sleeve cuff, your front placket, your collar and collar stand pattern pieces because we're going to add interfacing onto the wrong side of all of these pattern pieces. And as for the other pattern pieces that have buttonholes, we're going to add these small squares on the wrong side of the fabric where the buttonhole will go. We're also going to prepare the sleeve slit bindings by folding them in half and in half again on one of the sides and on the other one. And you're going to repeat that on both pattern pieces. As you know, we have a lot of pattern pieces, so for ease of assembly, you can arrange the bodice pieces as shown here on the layout. We're going to start first with the right front. So here I organized it so it looks like the layout I showed you. And we're going to be stitching together this yellow section you see over here that makes part of the right front section of the blouse. You'll notice that in this pattern instructions, we have instructions and each of them may have A, B, C or more sections in between them. So first we're going to start with section A, which is sewing these two pieces together. Make sure that they're facing right sides together. You're going to sew leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And you're also going to zigzag stitch or overcast the raw edges. Once you've done that, you're going to press it to one side. You're going to do this every time we attach one of the panel pieces together. For step B, we're going to attach it to the top section over here. I'm making sure it's right sides together, and we're going to do the same as I said. Stitch leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance, zigzag stitch, and then press. It should look like this. To finish this section, we're going to attach this last pattern piece over here. And you're going to do the same steps. While we're attaching all of the pieces together, you're basically just going to do that. Follow the layout, stitch leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance, zigzag stitch, and press. Now we're going to move to the right back. I also organized my pattern pieces as shown on the layout I shared with you guys at the start. And we're going to begin attaching the pieces as shown on the layout on the screen. Now moving to the right front, we're going to continue on this section, and we're going to sew the pieces together as shown on the screen. For the right front of the blouse, you should be left with these two pieces. And now we're going to move to the right back on this section. On this same piece we just finished, we're going to fold this edge about 1 centimeter in and press. And you're going to fold again at the notches that we have on each side. This will form a placket. Then we're going to top stitch to sew the placket closed. Now you're going to grab these pieces of the right front and right back, and we're going to align them at the shoulders just like this, facing right sides together. and we're going to stitch this together. They should look like this. And on the same panel, we're going to go over this edge and we're going to fold it inward about 1 centimeter and press. Now grab these both pieces that are on the right and we're going to attach them together just like this. You're going to straight stitch on the sides, right in this little corner, and the same on the other side. Make sure that you also zigzag stitch or overcast and press the seam. And also make sure to press the neckline away so you have 2 plackets overlapping each other just like this. And now you're going to top stitch this top edge the same way we did with the other one, and we're going to secure both front and back ends of the placket with another top stitch. Once you've done that, we're going to begin making the buttonholes on the top placket and attaching the corresponding buttons on the lower placket. And you should be left with something like this. You can either close it or leave it open. Now we're going to move to the left front and back. So basically to these yellow pieces over here. Here I have the left back and I have the left front as well. And here I'm right at the middle where the back and front meet. And we're going to do the same as we've been doing all along, following the layout on the screen. And you should be left with these 2 pieces. Now grab this one and we're going to fold the indicated edges on the layout 1 centimeter in, press, and we're going to fold them again at the notches that we have on each side. So we're basically forming other plackets. And we're also going to top stitch. And you're going to do the same on the other placket. We also have notches over here. Once they're both ready and pressed, you're going to overlap these pieces, making sure you're using the notches as a guide. And you're going to secure both front and back edges. After that, you can go ahead and make the buttonholes on the top and attach the buttons on the lower placket. Next, we're going to move over to the left front and we're going to attach these yellow pieces together. And now you're going to head over to these pieces on the left back, and you're also going to attach them together. Lastly, we just have to sew these two pieces together. By now, you should have these 3 panels ready, these ones that are yellow, and we're going to attach them together. And we're going to attach these ones here together. First, we're going to fold the edge of this piece right here, 1 centimeter in, twice, press, and then top stitch. And now we're going to attach these two as we've been attaching the rest of them. For this piece, we're going to fold the edge 1 centimeter in, fold again, and sew with a top stitch. And as for these two pieces right here, we're going to attach them right sides together and we're going to sew on the curved edge. You're going to sew leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. After that, you're going to reduce the seam allowance to about 3 millimeters. And now you can just turn it inside out and press it. On that same piece, we're going to fold the top edges about 1 centimeter inwards, just like this. So we can sew it together with the top piece and top stitch. Then we're going to secure this open edge over here. And now we can make the buttonholes. Once they're done, you're going to overlap this with the other piece as I'm showing you, secure it with a stitch, and now you can place the buttons. Once that is ready, we're going to sew together these two pieces right here. Now we can move on to this section right here and attach them all together. Let's move on to the ruffles. First, you're going to match them wrong sides together. And you're going to sew about 5 millimeters from the edge. We're basically going to be doing a French seam, which is where we hide the seam with another seam. After you're done with that one, you're going to press it open, and now you're going to stitch, it right sides together. Now we're going to make a hem all around the ruffle, but only starting at one of the notches around the bottom of the ruffle until you reach the other notch, which is on the other side. So right in between these two notches on the top, we're not going to make a hem. To make this easier, you can just fold the edges like this, about 5 millimeters, and then stitch. After doing so, we're going to fold again and stitch again. Now we're going to attach the ruffle right in between these two pieces of the last bodice. First, you're going to flip the ruffle right sides together over the bigger side like this and pin in place. We're only going to be sewing on the raw edge of the ruffle. The rest will not be sewn together with the blouse. Once you've pinned that, you can sew it right away, or you can pin the other side together and sew it all together, which is what I'm doing right here. Next, we're going to sew together these two remaining pieces for the front and back of the left bodice. When attaching this side, you have to make sure that there's about 2 centimeters remaining on the hem, because we're going to close that afterwards. And this is how it should be looking by now after you pressed it. As you know, we left these 2 centimeters open, and you're just going to fold them like I did, so 1 centimeter and then the other one, and then you can stitch it closed. Now you're going to grab your center back piece, your right and left bodices, and we're going to attach everything together on the back. Let's move on to the sleeves. You're going to grab these left front and back sleeves, and you're going to face them together and sew, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now we're going to mark the slit that we have to cut on the right back sleeve. So align the fabric and the pattern and cut it just like this. Now you're going to grab one of your slit bindings, and you're going to insert the slit edge into the sleeve slit binding, and you're going to sew. Now you're going to fold the sleeves, making sure that the right sides are inward, and you're going to sew the corner of the binding. You're going to repeat all of the steps on the other sleeve as well. Now we're going to fold the notches on the bottom edge of each sleeve. So just close them as shown here on the sketch. make sure to top stitch so we secure it. Now we're going to sew the sleeves to each corresponding armhole. So make sure you're matching each sleeve to its corresponding side. We're just going to straight stitch and leave a 1 cm seam allowance and overcast as usual. Now to shape the blouse, you're going to fold the shirt by the shoulder seams and the center of the sleeves. And we're going to sew them on the sides, right below the sleeves and on the sides of the shirt. Now it's time to hem the shirt. To make this easier, I folded the hem 1 cm in, pressed, and then folded once again. I then pinned it all in place and stitched. Let's prepare the front plackets. First, we're going to fold the edge of the plackets inward about 1 cm. And make sure to press it. Once you've done that for both front plackets, you're going to fold them again, but right sides inward, right at the notches. You'll notice that one of the edges will be longer. You're going to stitch this closed and flip them inside out. Grab the rest of your blouse and we're going to start attaching the front plackets. Remember that the closed edge should match with the hem. So face the plackets right sides together with the front bodice, and you're going to stitch right over that seam that we left. It should be looking like this, and now you're going to press the seam into the placket and pin the placket together like this. We're now going to top stitch from the right side of the shirt about 2 mm from the seam. And now your placket should be all closed up. Repeat that on the other side. Let's prepare the collars. So grab both collars, face them right sides together and stitch them closed on these sides. Trim the corners, flip them inside out and press. And secure the bottom edges together. Now for the collar stands, you're going to make a stitch on the bottom edge of one of them. It should be about 8 millimeters from the edge. Then you're going to fold it inward right at that stitch. Now you're going to match the collar and the other collar stand with the right sides together and secure it together. Then you're going to match both collar stands with right sides together. And you're going to sew the curved edge, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance and aligning the notches of the collar stand. After that, you're going to make cuts around the seam allowance and flip the collar inside out. Next, we're going to match the raw edge of the collar stand and the shirt neckline with it right sides together. Make sure to align the collar stand notches with the shoulder seams of the blouse. After you've pinned everything properly in place, you can stitch, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And you can close the collar by closing the seam allowance towards the collar and sewing all of the layers with a top stitch at about 2 millimeters from the previous seam. Make sure to give it a good press. Now we have to prepare the sleeve cuffs. So grab both panels and you're going to fold the indicated edge inward about 1 centimeter and press. Then you're going to fold it right sides together right at the notch. And we're going to be left with one of the sides a little bit longer than the other one. That's fine. You're going to pin that in place and sew the sides. Now flip them inside out and press. To attach the sleeve cuffs to the shirt, we're going to align the right side of the sleeve cuff with the right side of the sleeve, just like this, and you're going to stitch, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. After that, you're going to press the seam allowance into the sleeve cuff and cover it with the rest of the sleeve cuff, just like this. And then we just have to top stitch. You're going to repeat all of these steps with the other sleeve cuff and sleeve. Your Chloe blouse is basically done. We just have to make the final buttonholes and buttons. Once you've made the buttonholes and attached them, you're finally done. You can give the shirt a final good press and you can now wear your Chloe blouse. Remember that you can find this pattern on our website or our Etsy. Everything is linked on the description. And if you'd like to custom order any of our designs, make sure to do so as well.